I've spent half the day sleeping and eating ice cream. So I'm fully charged and ready to go. Let's do this. Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is WNBA Weekly, the show where twice a week, usually on Mondays and Fridays, I will stand in front of this camera and talk about things that have happened recently in the association and things I'm looking forward to in the upcoming days. It's Labor Day weekend and we had a lot of excitement, so let's get down to some of the highlights. On Friday, you have the Sparks and the Lynx both getting their 23rd wins of the season as they take care of a couple of struggling teams. Lloyd nearly has a triple-double, but the Storm still end up losing to the Sky. You have Brittney Griner getting her first dunk of the season and her 400th career block, but the Mercury still end up losing to the Connecticut Sun. Then the very next day, Saturday, the Mercury go up against the New York Liberty. Tina Charles has a double-double, of course. She gets her 4,000th career point, and Phoenix Mercury end up losing the second straight game. And then on Sunday, you have the Wings losing to the Mystics. Dallas has now lost 11 straight games, and they're one more loss away from being eliminated from playoff contention. You've got the Delle Donne pouring on 35 points as she helps lead the Sky to their fourth straight victory. They are now in sole possession of fourth place. You have the Seattle Storm winning against the Dream, and now they are in sole possession of 8th place thanks to the Lynx defeating the Sun. And also the last game of the night, you have the Sparks defeating the Fever in order to keep it a tie for first place. So after all of that, here are your current standings. So the season is winding down. We are almost into the playoffs. So let me tell you how things are shaping up right now. Right now, we still only have 3 teams that have clinched. Those are the teams with the 20 wins on the season: the Sparks, the Lynx, and the Liberty. Everything else is still technically up for grabs. But for the most part, it looks like the Sky are almost definitely in. Fever, Dream, the Mercury, they're all basically there with like a couple more wins as well. And the 8th seed mostly seems to be a race between the Storm and the Sun. The Mystics still very much alive. They're only a game out of it, but I just don't currently have enough faith in their ability to keep winning down the stretch. So to be fair, all 3 of those teams could potentially end up in the playoffs if they win all or the majority of their games, while some of the teams above them, like the Mercury and the Fever and the Dream, if they end up losing the majority of their games down the stretch. I just don't see that happening. I think the playoffs are pretty much set. I expect Chicago to 100% be in and to hold on to that 4th seed the way that they're playing right now. Dream, Fever, and Mercury, it's hard to tell because they are losing some of their more recent games. You know, there are they just don't look like two powerful teams right now. I expect them to make the playoffs. I would not be shocked if they went on a long losing streak and ended up just barely falling out of the standings. And the Storm and the Sun, they are playing very well. With both of those teams, they had such a bad start to the season. I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't able to finish in, but I wouldn't be shocked if they were both able to make it in either. I feel like the playoffs are basically all but set right now, and the only thing left to be determined is seeding. And with many of these teams still facing off against each other in the final week of the season, there is still plenty on the line in many of these games. So let's get to some of the action that we're going to be seeing. As always, I will tell you which games are currently scheduled to broadcast nationally, which means everybody can see them. And for the rest, you can check your local listings or watch every single game on WNBA League Pass. And as always, don't forget I am announcing the times in Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to adjust for your time zone. On Tuesday, you've got 3 games in action. First, you've got the Mercury versus the Dream, and both of these teams are in a similar position. They've lost games, which has slid them down in the rankings, and this isn't necessarily a must-win game because both of these teams are still pretty much in the playoffs. It would take basically losing every single game the rest of the season before they actually got knocked out. But still, you don't want to put yourself in that position where it's still a possibility. You want to put as many wins together as you can. especially for the Mercury, who they're only a single game ahead of that 8th seed right now, and they've already lost 2 in a row. They don't want to make it 3 in a row. And then you've also got the Fever, who are basically in the same position as these two guys. Once again, it would take a lot to get them knocked out of the playoffs, but it is still very much a possibility. So they want to put some wins together, and put a little more distance between them and the others that are hunting for those playoff spots. And luckily for them, they're playing the Stars. That game is going to be on ESPN3 at 8 p.m. And then the last game of the night, which is going to be on ESPN2 at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you've got the game of the week, possibly the game of the season, Minnesota Lynx versus the Los Angeles Sparks. These teams are tied for first place. They've got the exact same record. Currently in the head-to-head matchups, each team has won 1 game. So the winner of this game has first place. They have a full game lead on the other team, and they own the tiebreaker. Now, this game isn't necessarily a must-win either, because you can lose this game and still get first place if you not only win every game for the rest of the season, but they lose all of their games for the rest of the season. But that doesn't seem as likely. So winning this game here puts you in the best position to secure that number 1 spot at the end of the season. It puts you in the best spot, gives you the best shot of winning it all. So it's definitely better for you if you can manage to win this game, which is why all eyes are going to be glued to the TV when this one is on. Then on Wednesday, you've got 2 games, both of them at 7. You've got the Storm versus the Liberty. The Liberty, they've got 20 wins. Their playoff berth is already clinched. They're pretty much locked in that 3rd seed. Meanwhile, the Storm, they just got into the playoffs. Nothing's guaranteed though. They still need to keep winning to guarantee they can hold on to that spot. And they actually still have potential to climb up a spot or 2 before the end of the season if a couple teams above them can keep losing and they can manage to keep stacking some wins together. But that won't be easy against the Liberty, because even though that 3rd seed is basically secured, I don't see them letting up anytime soon. I think they're still going to go as hard as always from here to the end of the year. You've also got the Sky at the Mystics. The Sky, they're looking great right now. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Delle Donne is playing fantastic. She's in that MVP form. I don't see that winning streak ending anytime soon. I think they're definitely going to make it 5 straight. And then on Thursday, the last day of the week, you've got the Dream versus the Sparks at 10:30. And the Sparks, regardless of what happens on Tuesday, they probably want to win here, because even if they win, they still want to get a little more breathing room, keep that space between them and the Lynx, keeping that little cushion of live. And then if they lose, then they're trying to play catch up, and they can't afford to drop any more losses. Otherwise, basically guarantee 2nd place if they lose 2 in a row this week. Meanwhile, the Dream, they still have a shot of being that 4th seed, getting that 1st round bye, but it seems less and less likely as the season goes on. And there is potential for them to still continue falling even lower in the standings if they continue to stack wins together. So this game still has a lot of bearing for both of these teams. So it's definitely worth paying attention to. So that's it for this edition of WNBA Weekly. Tune in on Friday for another all-new episode. And until then, this has been The Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. I hope you have a good week.